What's going on, friends? So this video is really interesting because whether or not you believe it, we live in a world where the amount of electromagnetic frequencies that are actually rummaging around our environment is so much higher than it used to be and so much more chronic. Now, I am not some tinfoil crazy hat person, but I do believe that we probably don't know the long-term effects of these things, and there is a probability that this could be really bad for our health long-term. And I've done enough research where I think that there's points where we want to kind of take some considerations here. My perspective is this: EMF is here to stay. It makes life better, and I don't think any of us want to give up wireless capabilities on these devices, but there are opportunities in significant ways to reduce our exposure. There's ways we can mitigate the damage, and I'm going to give you a few pointers here in this video so you can better understand what I think about this and also what I think about how to best approach it. Because again, I don't want you to be freaking out, plugging in every device in your home, not using a smartwatch, not using devices, but there's a lot of things you can do to mitigate. Things as simple as like getting in the habit of swiping your phone into airplane mode when you stick it in your pocket and you're not actually using it, where it doesn't emit lots of frequencies. Now, having a meter and being aware of how things get spiked and how they get impacted is also really powerful. So there's just a lot of things you can do to kind of understand how to mitigate the effects, because this is a proximal thing. And what you're going to find is that the EMF is logarithmic, meaning, well, let's take a step back. There's a couple things here. One, we don't know if EMF is bad or good. We probably think that it's bad because 250, 300 years ago, electricity wasn't really a thing. And so this whole idea of creating these magnetic fields through us creating man-made electricity is very new to our biology. So exposing us to all these wavelengths and these different amplitudes and powers of radiation, it is actual radiation, even though they say it's non-ionizing, meaning it doesn't ionize us and break our DNA with direct exposure. It's not powerful enough to do that, like a microwave, for example, or a nuclear, the fallout from a nuclear weapon, gamma radiation, for example. Even though it's classified as non-ionizing, there is some anecdotes out there around people who have been exposed to sleeping near their cell phone for years, developing tumors or having, cognitive issues. There's interesting things out there. And so I think it's going to be a lot like what we found in the past, where it was something we maybe thought was pretty darn safe at high doses and maybe isn't as safe as we thought, and that there's actually going to be some ramifications for the people who don't take precautions. And it's really easy. Just mitigate damage. Some of the biggest things you can do right off the bat is put your phone in airplane mode whenever you have it. Leave your phone away from you. Don't just have it sitting in your person in your pocket all day long, open, turned on. Like, just set it aside. Create space between you and the devices. EMF radiation exposure and the amplitude and power of what it can do, if these theories are actually proven in the future to cause long-term damage, is related to how close you are to the devices. Turn your smartwatch on airplane mode and turn off the Bluetooth. Something super simple like that mitigates how much exposure it's producing and also how much you're getting. And I have a meter here. You can invest in a $200 meter and you can get relatively decent readings of the intensity and what happens. Another big thing you can do, and it's not very expensive, is buy a Wi-Fi guard. What this does is it lowers the power of your Wi-Fi router, which is probably the biggest source of dirty electromagnetic frequencies in your environment, in your home, by 70, 80%. And you put it in this little cage and it reduces the amplitude. It still works. You can still use Wi-Fi, but you don't have the same effects, where it's like exposure is logarithmic, meaning like every foot you are away from the device is an exponential drop off in the power of exposure. It's a lot worse for you to be laying on top of your cell phone than to even have your cell phone arm's distance away from you when you sleep at night. It's a lot more important to try to minimize the time and the distance of exposure. Things like headphones. If you wire these headphones in, I've measured this, it actually kills the EMF that's on there. And for a lot of people, you're wearing AirPods, you're wearing headphones like this, and you're operating them on, and they're literally connected to your brain, transmitting the power right at the source onto your brain. I don't think that's going to be something you want to do, or I think it's worth considering plugging these things in with a small solution where you can kind of route through the 3.5mm jack, because these devices do turn off. And that's one of the reasons I didn't buy the Apple AirPod Maxes. Again, you have options here to mitigate without going extreme, without wearing a tinfoil hat, but just to say in like 20 years, not look at yourself and go, oh my God, I just exposed myself for the last 2 decades to what is now scientific scientifically showing up to be really toxic to people and developing all these cancer tumors, these misgrowths, maybe these disorders. We're seeing all kinds of things like that in society today. Things like autism spiking into massive rates. And there seems to be some sort of correlation. We don't know if it's a causal yet, but it seems pretty connected to the timeline of maybe too many vaccines for infants in their early stage of development. Things like that, right? Where there's ingredients in those vaccines, or there's vaccinations that aren't even necessary. Diseases like hepatitis B. I know I'm going on a tangent, but this is biohacking, right? What can you do to optimize your life and also fit it in your lifestyle and capture the 80-20 of what's going to allow you to live like a very longevity type optimized health span, so you're feeling optimized for decades into your later years and you're feeling really vital. And let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you've tested these devices yourself, what you found. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.